Adam Sandler has made millions laugh. From Billy Madison to Uncut Gems, he's the goofy everyman, the harmless clown, America's lovable Joker. But behind the laughs, behind the Netflix deals and red carpets, lies a secret so dark, so unthinkable, that it left an entire courtroom speechless. It's day 14 of the federal trial against Sean Diddy Combs. And just when the public thought they'd heard it all, the courtroom doors opened to a figure nobody expected. Not a rapper, not a former associate, but Adam Sandler. Yes, that Adam Sandler, but he wasn't there to make a joke. He wasn't promoting a film, he wasn't smiling, he was shaking. And what he said under oath didn't just shatter Diddy's image, it tore through Hollywood's silence like a blade. What began as a friendship in the glitzy mid-2000s slowly turned into something twisted, manipulative, and haunting. Sandler's voice trembled, his eyes welled up. And when he finally revealed what he had kept secret for nearly 2 decades, the courtroom held its breath. Because this isn't a comedy, it's a horror show. And what Sandler described? It wasn't just betrayal. It was psychological imprisonment dressed as friendship. And now, for the first time ever, Adam is telling the world what really happened behind those velvet ropes. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear is unlike anything you've ever imagined. From late-night phone calls to hidden cameras, from silk robes to a secret tape that could bring an empire crashing down. This is the testimony that broke the silence. It started like something out of a buddy movie. Diddy, the music mogul with global influence, and Adam, the comedy superstar, bonding over creative ideas and industry dreams. They partied together, shared jokes, even talked about blending hip-hop and comedy into a revolutionary film project. But underneath the laughs, something much darker was taking root. Sandler took the stand and immediately launched into what he called the night that changed everything. He was flown out to Miami, invited by Diddy for what he called a brotherhood weekend. It sounded harmless enough. They'd been friends for a while. Collaborators. Or so Sandler thought. But from the moment he stepped off the plane, Adam said something felt off. "I didn't want to go," Sandler admitted. "I was already feeling weird about the trip, but I didn't want to be rude. Diddy had gone all out. Private jet, chef, the works." That night, after a luxurious dinner, Diddy gave him a personal tour of his sprawling mansion. Sandler described it as surreal. Dim golden lighting, incense in every hallway, and ambient music echoing through the marble halls. It was like walking into a dream, or a trap. Eventually, they reached a massive double door. Diddy paused, looked Sandler directly in the eyes, and said, "Let's wash off the day, cleanse the bad vibes." What lay behind the door was a private spa, marble steam room, rainfall showers, the kind of luxury that only billionaires live in, but something in Diddy's tone, in his insistence, made Sandler freeze. "I didn't want to go in. Not with him," Sandler confessed, his voice cracking, but the pressure was subtle. Strategic. Diddy disrobed, stepped into the shower, and waved Sandler in, smiling. "Come on, man. We boys. This is what kings do." Sandler tried to deflect. "I left my boxers on," he said. "I told him I was just rinsing off." But Diddy reached out, tugging playfully at the waistband, laughing. "Don't be shy. This ain't Hollywood. This is real life." Adam pulled away, but even then, he couldn't find the words to say no. Not in Diddy's world, where power and friendship blurred into coercion. He focused on anything but Diddy. The tiles, the water, the ceiling. But then, Diddy leaned in and whispered something that would haunt Sandler for years. "You think I let you into my circle just to make jokes?" It felt like a threat, a confession, a warning. Sandler spent the rest of the weekend pretending to be sick, hiding in the guest room. The line between friend and predator had blurred, he told the court. "I left Miami feeling dirty, and it wasn't because of the shower." That was the beginning. After the Miami trip, Adam Sandler returned to Los Angeles, shaken but still trying to rationalize what had happened. He told himself Diddy was just intense, maybe a little eccentric, but ultimately harmless. That's what trauma does. It clouds judgment. It silences instincts. So when Diddy invited him over again a few weeks later, Adam said yes. He said it was just a recharge day, Adam recalled. We'd watch movies, maybe write some skits, like old times. It sounded safe, familiar. But the moment Adam walked into Diddy's LA home, that safety vanished. There were no assistants, no entourage, just Diddy, standing in silk pajamas, holding a remote. "He welcomed me like nothing weird had ever happened," Sandler testified. "That was his power. He made you question your own discomfort." They sat on the couch, watching a comedy from their childhood. For a brief moment, it almost felt normal again. But then Diddy paused the movie, turned to Adam, and said with unnerving calm, "You look tired. Come nap with me, bro. Don't fight it. Just rest." Adam laughed nervously, unsure if it was a joke. But Diddy wasn't laughing. He stood, walked toward the bedroom, and looked back, expecting Adam to follow. And against every instinct in his body, Sandler did. "I didn't want to make it weird," Adam said. "I thought if I played along, nothing would happen." In the bedroom, Diddy climbed into a massive California king bed and patted the spot beside him. Adam sat on the edge, stiff and silent. That's when Diddy leaned in and whispered the words that still make Adam shudder. "You're mine now, Sandy. Always have been." Adam's throat tightened as he recalled it. It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. Calm, confident, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Adam didn't move. He didn't sleep. He laid there, eyes open, heart racing, waiting for it to be over. When Diddy finally got up, Adam made an excuse and left. "I cried the whole drive home," he told the court, "because I knew this wasn't friendship. This was control." And yet, Adam still didn't tell anyone. Not yet. Because how do you explain that the man who once called you his comedy soulmate was also the reason you couldn't close your eyes at night? Months passed, and despite his fear, Sandler continued to see Diddy, occasionally cautiously, until one weekend in Aspen changed everything. It was supposed to be an industry retreat. Public, safe, writers, directors, actors, the best in the business. Sandler agreed to go because he believed the crowd would protect him. He was wrong. Diddy had reserved a private lodge, isolated, quiet, just a few miles from the main resort. He invited Adam to get away from the noise for a bit. "Just us," he said. They rode snowmobiles up to the cabin, and when they arrived, Sandler realized there was no one else. No team, no guests, just Diddy, a fire burning in the hearth, and a camera. "There was a tripod set up in the corner," Adam said. "I thought maybe it was for a vlog or something." He always had weird ideas. But what happened next made Sandler's stomach turn. Diddy walked to a dresser, pulled out a robe and silk shorts, and tossed them to Adam. "Put this on," he said. "You're in my space now. This is how we do it." Adam hesitated. "I told him I was fine in what I was wearing, but he insisted. He joked, he pressured, made it sound harmless." Not wanting a confrontation in the middle of the woods, and not sure what Diddy was capable of if angered, Adam stepped into the bathroom and changed. I didn't want to be alone with him. Not like that. But I also didn't want to provoke him. When Adam returned, Diddy was reclined on a bearskin rug in front of the fire, already in his robe. He looked at Adam like prey, and then he said, "Now we're equals. No layers, no lies." Then he crossed the line again. Diddy told Adam to strip. Fully. "Be raw," he said. "Let go. No ego here." Adam refused. But Diddy didn't take no easily. He stood up, walked over, tried to untie Adam's robe. That's when Sandler finally pushed back. "I backed toward the door and told him I was leaving," he said. "He told me I'd regret it. That this was about trust. That you don't walk out on someone who sees the real you." But Adam walked anyway. He didn't speak to anyone at the resort that night. He didn't share what happened. I felt exposed, violated, confused. I wasn't assaulted physically, but emotionally, I was shattered. He paused in court and whispered, "I never wore that robe again, but I've never felt clean since." That was the breaking point, but not the end. By now, Adam Sandler knew something was wrong. The Aspen retreat had left a mark. Not a bruise, but a fracture in his sense of safety. But what came next would cross a boundary even he didn't know existed. The year was 2007. Diddy invited Adam to his estate for what he called a creative review night. The pitch? Review some footage, brainstorm for their next big comedy project. "Just two friends bouncing ideas," Diddy had said. It sounded normal, productive. But when Adam arrived, the vibe was all wrong. There were no assistants, no studio reps, no writers, just Diddy and two drinks, a cigar and a glass of Hennessy waiting. I walked into the screening room expecting to see a pilot episode or bloopers, Adam testified. Instead, I saw something I can never unsee. The first video started grainy, like home footage, but it wasn't behind-the-scenes clips. It was a celebrity, naked, disoriented, clearly being filmed without consent. Adam froze. I told him to shut it off, but he just laughed. He said, "Come on, man, that's the industry. We all got tapes." Adam stood to leave. And Adam knew. This was his moment. At the time, Adam laughed it off. Diddy had a flair for the dramatic, but under oath, nearly 20 years later, Adam whispered, "Now I know." That wasn't a joke. It was a declaration. He told the jury about his attempts to compartmentalize. "I didn't have bruises, so I told myself I wasn't a victim. I wasn't locked in a basement, but I was emotionally imprisoned." And then came one of the most devastating lines of his testimony. "He didn't need to lock me up. He lived rent-free in my head." It took years of therapy for Adam to use the word abuse, and even longer to believe he was allowed to. But that's the thing about psychological trauma. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides behind laughter. It walks beside you in daylight, and then wraps around your throat in the dark. In the courtroom, Adam looked directly at Diddy for the first time all day and said, "You took my peace. You took my voice. But you didn't take my truth." The moment Adam Sandler finally broke the spell wasn't in Aspen. It wasn't in a courtroom. It happened backstage at a children's hospital fundraiser in 2016. Adam and Diddy were both scheduled to appear at the gala. Public setting, cameras, charity. It should have felt safe. But moments before Adam was set to walk on stage and introduce a segment with young cancer survivors, Diddy found him backstage. He leaned in with that same cold charm, the same tone Adam had heard before so many times. "Make me look good out there, Sandman," he whispered. "You owe me that." It was said with a smirk, framed like a joke, but it wasn't a joke. "I froze," Adam said. "I smiled, gave the speech, I did the whole thing, but inside, I was breaking." Because at that moment, Adam realized something terrifying. Diddy still believed he owned him. That night, Adam returned home and told his wife everything. Every memory he had repressed, every moment he'd swallowed, every time he'd convinced himself it wasn't real, wasn't abuse. She was horrified, he said, not just by what happened, but by how long I'd carried it alone. She told him something that stuck. Even if no one listens, you need to get it out of you. That was the first night in years that Adam slept without night terrors. Over the following months, he quietly gathered his strength and his proof. He hired investigators, recovered emails, dug into that cloud backup, and yes, he found the footage, the 2007 tape, a sealed archive labeled only by date. Inside, surveillance of him in a spa room, Diddy following behind, a phone, a glass of wine, a camera behind the mirror. The spa wasn't even running. No water, just a bath full of baby oil and bubbles. "He told me to get in," Adam said. "I said no." He laughed, said, "What? You think you're too good now?" Adam left. But days later, a USB drive appeared at his door. A short clip, a warning, a leash, and a note. "Be careful what you say. We all have ghosts." That was the last straw. Adam realized this wasn't just about him. It was about every celebrity Diddy had manipulated, every creative he had controlled, every silence he had purchased with fear. "I wasn't a friend," Adam said. "I was leverage." And now, finally, he wasn't staying silent. The courtroom sat in complete stillness as Adam Sandler stepped down from the witness stand. Not as the Sandman, not as Billy Madison, not as the guy who made the world laugh, but as a man who finally reclaimed the parts of himself that had been locked in silence for nearly 20 years. Reporters swarmed outside, flashbulbs fired, questions flew. But Adam said nothing. He got into a black SUV with his wife and children and drove off. Quietly, peacefully, for the first time in years, because the truth had already spoken. During his final moments on the stand, The prosecutor asked him a simple question. "Do you feel safe now?" Adam didn't hesitate. "No," he said, "but I feel heard." And that's a start. Before leaving the stand, Adam pulled out a note, handwritten on the back of a script page from 50 First Dates. It was from 2004. He read it aloud. "I wish I could disappear," he explained. "I wrote that right after a call from Diddy. He'd heard I told someone about Aspen. He threatened to pull the plug on my career. I laughed it off, but then I wrote this, because I didn't feel funny. I felt trapped." The judge allowed the note to be entered into evidence. A single worn page proving that trauma doesn't always leave bruises. Sometimes it leaves echoes. Then came Adam's final words. They weren't dramatic. They weren't rehearsed. They were raw. "I'm not angry anymore," he said. "I'm tired. Tired of pretending it didn't happen. Tired of pretending it didn't hurt. Tired of pretending I'm okay when I'm not." He turned to the gallery. If you've ever been scared to speak up, if you've ever felt like your pain didn't count, let this be proof that it does. That you do. There was no applause. There didn't need to be. The silence, finally, was enough.